Hi guys, welcome back to Handmade by Vaishnav. At the beginning of this year, I decided to test 2 of the best white gel pens that I know to see which one was the best. And that video seems to be doing pretty well, so I thought I'll test out 2 of the best watercolors that I know and see which one wins. So today I'll be testing the KURETAKE GANSAI TAMBI and the WINSOR NEWTON. Now, before we get started, I thought I'd give you a close-up of both of these paint palettes to see what they look like. So for the first test, we're going to be testing the transparency of each of these paints to see how opaque their pigment is. So as you can see, I'm swatching each of these watercolor shades side by side against a streak of Sharpie marker. And we have the KURETAKE GANSAI TAMBI on the left and the WINSOR NEWTON on the right. So after we've swatched all the colors, we can see that for the KURETAKE GANSAI TAMBI, the yellow and the ochre color are more opaque, while the red, orange, green, blue, and brown seem to be transparent. And we can see that this is also true with the WINSOR NEWTON, with the yellow and the ochre being opaque, but also the orange. Moving on to the next test, which is wet on wet blending. So you may not see this, but I basically painted a streak of water beforehand, and then I'm packing on the watercolor and using the water to blend it afterwards. The reason why I chose orange and yellow is because they are both really strong colors, and I wanted to see how they both blended out and if one was overpowering or not. After blending out these two, you can see that for the KURETAKE, the orange is overpowering the yellow, but the colors are pretty pigmented. And then when you look at the WINSOR NEWTON, you can see that it's not as pigmented and the blending is a little less. Here I'm doing the pigmented swatch, which basically means I'm taking a lot more watercolor than water. I'll also be doing the dry blending and then we'll discuss. So with the pigmented dry blending test, it's like the pigmented swatch test, except instead of having one color, I'll be using 2 colors, and I will be blending these 2 colors with minimal water. So after doing the blending for both of the paints, we can see that for the KURETAKE, there is not that much of seamless blending for both of the colors. It is pretty patchy, and there is not much of a color gradient. But when we look at the WINSOR NEWTON, we can see that there is a much better gradient and much better blending between the 2 colors. And then with the pigmented swatch test, we can see that the KURETAKE GANSAI TAMBI is a lot more pigmented. So for the color layering test, it's pretty similar to the transparency test, but instead of using Sharpie marker, I'm using 2 watercolor shades. So I started out with blending both the orange and red colors, and I chose these 2 colors because I usually use these colors when I'm painting sunsets, and I wanted to make sure there's really no color bleeding through. So when we take a closer look at the color layering, we can see that the KURETAKE seems to be doing a little bit better when it comes to the base color not showing up as much. And although the WINSOR NEWTON seems to be doing pretty well when it comes to color layering, there is still a little bit of bleed through of the orange color, which you may or may not be able to see. And since I layered 2 darker colors, I also thought I'd layer 2 lighter colors, yellow and green, since those colors are also usually layered in watercolor in general. And when we take a closer look at these 2, we can see that the green seems to be layering pretty well on the yellow for the KURETAKE. But when we look at the WINSOR NEWTON, the color is pretty faded and there's bleeding through of the yellow. So after putting both of these pens through each of these tests and comparing their performance in each of them, we can say that there is no clear winner. Yep, you heard me right. There is no clear winner. This means you can choose KURETAKE for dark color layering and bright, saturated, and pigmented strokes, and you can use WINSOR NEWTON for great color variation and blendability. I really enjoyed putting both of these watercolors to the test to see which one wins, and although there wasn't a clear winner, I'm sure we all learned something new today. I really love watercoloring, and although it's something that I'm not experienced in, I would love to try more in the future. So let me know if you'd like to see more videos on watercoloring. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye!